but there was also the fact that, he took advantage of the Central in the mega season there, or in the mega Central there. I think Maeda took big advantage of that.
And what division did Glass now have to pitch in?
Which is much more difficult. So I'm with that. Like I said, I misspoke there. I'm not trying to change my answer. I'm saying I would just interpreted it wrong, thinking that you were suggesting that you would take him top 10. You take him higher than he's going, but I can get behind that too. I take him in the 13, 14, 15 range, even though I have him 16, 17, just because to get your guys sometimes. Plus, pitching's going to get pushed up. It's already getting pushed up, y'all. I don't know how many drafts you guys are doing, if any, but it's already getting pushed up, and there's usually an extra push in March, so it's going to be nuts.
Right. Here's another pitcher that's going ahead of him, Blake Snell. Blake Snell is now, he did not pitch out of the fifth inning last year, famously in the World Series, which is a debate of its own. But now he's been traded to San Diego, who has one heck of a great pitching staff. This is a guy who was Cy Young Award winner. He had 1 year, we had a 1.89 ERA, .97 whip. On the injured side in 2019, last year, he didn't have that many innings, but he rebounded to a 3.24 ERA. I'm willing to give 2019 a pass. I don't think he's going to post 2018 levels, but I think he's probably about bargain or slightly above. Pitching is pushed up, so if anybody's close to where they should be taken, I'm taking him. I like Snell here. To me, when you come to the fourth round, which is where you're getting Glass now Snell, I kind of like one of the two, which is why I'm going to pencil in, I'll grab one of these guys here. Any thoughts? Let's go to Ruvain first on Blake Snell.
Well, I'm a little bit nervous about Blake Snell because remember, last March, he had an elbow injury, and he had an injection for his elbow injury. They said it wasn't his UCL. They said it was not near the tendon, so it's probably more like a tennis elbow type thing, but still, he's already getting an injection for his elbow. He's actually older. He's older than Tyler Glass now, so I don't know why they didn't push him more last year. The Rays should have done that. They probably would have been better off that way. He's already thrown 180 innings in his career. So there's a good chance that you're going to get a good amount of innings, especially if the Padres are going for it. They're going to push him even more. And plus, as of now, there's no DH in the National League, which is a plus. He's still going. This is old school. I guess you can consider this old school already. Moving from the American League to the National League, and you get to pitch against a pitcher. That's great. Also, the home run to fly ball rate. He's pitching in a different park. He's pitching in Petco Field in San Diego. That's better. So I think like you said, I think his numbers are going to be a little bit closer to 2018 as opposed to 2019.
And the only problem I see with him is that his walks are creeping up. He had a 9% walk rate last year. But yeah, that you mentioned the home run. He was very unlucky last year. He had almost a 30% homer to fly ball rate. Imagine 3 out of 10 balls that go in the air are going out. That's going to stabilize. So I think there's a lot of reasons to think that Snell, maybe he's a little bit healthier. Maybe was unlucky. I see a lot more positive reasons to push him up than negatives to push him down. Paul, do you agree?
Yeah, big fan of Blake Snell. I really do love his game and think that he has the pitch diversity to really go deeper into games. And I agree that he should have been pushed a bit more. And it's certainly a frustration that he's vocalized. We're passing friends on Twitch. I don't want to overstate the friendship there, but we're homies there on Twitch. And talking to him about things, he's not shy about expressing his frustration about not being able to be turned loose. So I'm hoping that San Diego understands what they have here and lets him try to figure it out a bit, right? They've talked about doing 6-man. We'll see. We'll see how long the 6-mans last once the first rash of injuries start to hit. So I think Blake Snell actually does have a good chance at getting back toward that 180 inning count from 2018 if we get a full season. I think he'll have a perfectly capable, because he doesn't have to go multiple extra innings every time out. 20 extra innings being with San Diego could be pivotal, especially with his strikeout rates too. They're reminiscent of Glasnow's. So yeah, I like Snell quite a bit.
Yeah, we mentioned that there might not be a lot of 200 inning pitchers, but there's going to be some 200 strikeout pitchers. You're gonna see that. How about Carlos Cookie Carrasco? Welcome to New York. very big part of the Lindor trade. I think it's very minimized. But this guy had his lowest ERA of his career, 2.91 last year, after battling leukemia. First of all, just to point out, how amazing is that you fight that and you come back and you give it your all. I like these kinds of players. I'm glad he's a New York Met. He had a near 30% strikeout rate last year. The only thing to watch out for, like Snell, is the walk rate, but maybe that's something that because he was getting slow back from leukemia. I don't know. I'm going to give him a pass on that. I think he is a solid 1A pitcher. I think he is slightly undervalued here. He's going in the fifth round. I'm willing to take on him. I think there's a lot of good pitchers in the fourth, fifth round that I'd be willing to take on and really do a double 1A strategy. Are you in love with Carlos Carrasco?
100%
Paul?
agree with the full assessment there, right down to the person and what he's been able to do to get over the leukemia. And come back and pitch. I mean, he came back the year he was diagnosed in 19, pitched out of the bullpen, then a great season in 20. I also give a full pass on the walk rate because it's so antithetical to his career that I just don't see a reason to believe that that's his new level. I mean, he doubled his walk rate. It's a tiny sample. First pitch strike rate didn't really go down any major way. Let's see. I don't see his zone rate went down a little, like small ticks. Feasibly, if we had played a full season, he could have chiseled his way all the way back down to his career averages with the walk rate. So I have no concerns there that it's going to hold. Maybe it's up to 6, 7, which would be higher than his recent rates, but nothing that I have any alarm for with Carlos Carrasco. Big fan, think he's going to do very well in New York.
Anything different, Ruben?
He's sneaky good. From 2010 to 2016, his ground ball rate was around 50%. Now it's down to 40% because his strikeout rate has gone up. So if you want more strikeouts, he can get you a sneaky amount of strikeouts. Now, a couple of things that I'm a little nervous about is that his left on base percentage last year was around 85%, which is not really that sustainable for an entire season. So I'm a little nervous about that. But his hard hit rate did go down from 2019 to last year from 40 to 33. And just like you guys, 100%, he's getting a pass for 2019. He's going to be only, quote unquote, only 34, but he is healthy. He's a workhorse. He's an inning eater, and I think he's going to fit in perfectly well in New York.
Rotisserie values for Carrasco since 2015. 18, 13, 27, 18, -2, that was a leukemia year, and $10 last year. And that mostly was so low only because he only won 3 games. Yeah, that's an aberration.
Well. Like, he was pitching well enough to do better than that. They didn't support him very well.
Right, and a 1 win in a 60-game season means a heck of a lot in terms of roto price. So we're talking about a guy who, you read the numbers, he's high teens. His price is the auction equivalent of $20. You're getting what you pay for with Carlos Carrasco, and he's moving to a better ballpark. To me, it's another great pick. How about Zach Greinke? The question is not whether he's good. The question is this the final year of him being good? I think that no matter what, his ERA is going to go up, right? It started to creep up. He was at 4 last year. I think he's going to be 4 or a little bit up on that. But he's a whip stabilizer. I mean, we're talking somewhere in the career, he's been, low ones. Last year, a little bit up to 1.13, but 1.13 is phenomenal in this day's roto game to keep it down. Strikeouts, they're going to creep down. ATC only has 167 strikeouts for Greinke. Despite that, he's still a $17 value, which for an auction equivalent going for $14, which is a late 8th round pick. I think for the price, Greinke is a very decent buy. Paul, do you agree?
And I'll put him in the 200 inning category as well. Even at age 37, yep. I mean, he can pump out the innings. He doesn't put a lot of pressure on his arm with his velo. In fact, his velo was down 3 points last year to 87, which we talk about every spring training, and he still comes out and dominates. And yeah, I think building in concerns that he's a little bit of a low 4s with like a 118 whip is smart. But I'm not sure that that's even what it's going to be. I think there's a legitimate chance that you still get a 3.75 with a 1 with a 115 instead. Now, again, you don't have to pay for that because that's not where Greinke's going. There's a little bit of the ageism that we see in fantasy sports pushing him down. But this is still a pretty rock solid profile here. He doesn't walk anybody. And if he can chisel a little bit of those hit gains off, he was right at 9.0 per 9 with a 321 BABIP. If that comes back a little bit, let's say to the 294 career mark that he has in BABIP, I think the hits will come down. You'll get that whip back. And like I said, you'll be under 4 with the ERA and under 115 with the whip. Even if you're at 402 and 118, which is what ATC projects for 182 innings, I think you're going to be fine.
I agree. He's only 3 years since 2008 that he has thrown less than 200 innings. That is unfathomable in this day and age. It's just unbelievable. He had the second highest BABIP, like you mentioned, Paul, second highest BABIP of his career since 2005. Which means that he was extremely unlucky last year, according to his standards. His fastball, even if it sits at 87, his curve sits at 70. And he has that ephus pitch that he throws in there that I still keep watching over and over, watching Jason Worth just staring at it. That's the great.
So
if you have never seen it, go into YouTube, look, watch Zach Greinke throw that ephus pitch to Jason Worth and just watch his jaw drop. I love that. He's almost got 3,000 innings on his arm. That's my concern. He is 37. When he's going to hit that wall? That's my only concern. But again, 2 weeks into spring training, we're going to say his velocity is down. But you know what? As long as there's that break of 87 fastball to a 70 curve, I don't care what your velocity is. That difference is that's what matters most.
And he still uses his changeup, which is a mile slower because of the movement on it. He's doing what Felix wanted to be able to do, which was to have like virtually no split between your fastball and changeup and still have an effective changeup. He couldn't quite master it. Greinke's mastered it. And then that curveball really puts guys on their heels.
The last thing about Greinke to mention, this year and hopefully in the next week or so, it'll be up on Fangraphs. ATC is showing some volatility metrics. So we know that ATC is, it's salivating, right? ATC is an average of other projections. But, of course, when you have other projections, it would be nice to know whether those projections agree or disagree, right? To tell you that if a guy's going to hit 20 homers, does that mean that everybody's saying 20 homers? Or does that mean that there's a spread and the average is 20 homers? Well, that's what we're going to put up there. It's called interprojectional standard deviation and interprojectional skew to tell you whether the distribution of them skews up or down. Is it one projection that's really pushing the average up? Is it one that's pushing it down? So there's very good information that you're going to get about there that's going to be up on Fangraphs very soon. Zach Greinke has a standard deviation of only $2.70 for his projections, meaning the standard deviation between high and low and whatnot is only $2 and change of value. Most players I've seen somewhere between $3.50, $4 being the average of standard deviation. That means that projections are tight on him. There's not a lot of disagreement. Everyone pretty much thinks this is who he is. He's very close to this ATC average. So you can be more sure of the fact that ATC is right and that, oh, hey, projections all agree, guys. It's not like, well, somebody thinks this, somebody thinks that. No, everything's pretty tight. So when you do some of these studies with ATC, take a look at what the standard deviation is, see if it's high or low, and you'll get just a little bit more flavor of what goes into it.
Now, here's an interesting question. If you have an option of getting a top 5 or top 7 pitcher, would you do that and pair with a pitcher from the 5th round or 6th round like a Jose Berrios? Or would you rather combine a Zach Greinke and Tyler Glasnow?
I'm more inclined for the latter combo. If I can feel comfortable about locking them in, I think the uncertainty, it's a weird balance there, and I hate to fence it too much because in the first round, you have more control. If that pitcher's available, you take him. Glasnow, Greinke is such a great combo that I love that you point those two out. I feel nervous about if I can even get those two, though. And I don't want to be left scrambling like a guy we're going to talk about next. I'm very much out on, even though he seems like he might be a decent fill-in for Glasnow and Dinelson Lamet. I wouldn't want to do that. So in practice, I think I would end up doing the stud pitcher with like a Berrios. But in theory, I love something like Glasnow, Greinke if I can time it properly.
So Dinelson Lamet, our next guy. To me, the big question is health. Ruvain, report.
All right. So Dinelson Lamet, The Padres GM AJ Preller said that Lamet was not expected to have off-season surgery. He was dealing with a biceps and elbow issue. He had a PRP injection, which gave them some optimism because he actually responded well. He's only thrown in his entire career 150 innings twice. Once in the minors in 2016 and in the minors majors in 2017. He missed 2018. He missed most of 2018, but his velocity, like I mentioned earlier in the show, his velocity has slowly ticked up the last couple of years. So he's very tantalizing to also to want to grab because of his raising velocity and because of his strikeout rate. And one thing that I'm nervous about though is that he is having a very